Yate, buenas tardes, and good afternoon. After 2.5 years of having our lives disrupted by a global pandemic, in ways small and large, it is an understatement to express how beautiful and uplifting the scene that has unfolded here in San Juan, Puerto Rico over the last few days is, especially just weeks removed from the most unwelcome visit of Hurricane Fiona just 5 years after the devastating intrusion of Hurricane Maria. As we close SACNAS 2022, I must express that your presence in this ballroom today is quite a sight to behold and represents quite a moment to take in, because at this time and in this place, it is all about you, SACNistas, and the faculty who have shown you the opportunities you have seized, the staff who have supported you as you've sought to meet your full potential, and the family and friends who never for a minute have doubted your ability to reach higher. And so I must call on all SACNistas gathered here today, and those who are able to do so, to please stand and give yourselves and all who have traveled this journey alongside you a big round of applause. Come on. Now, I must confess that I am overwhelmed to be in front of so many who do so much to advance better days. Y que esta presentación sea aquí, en mi adorada y añorada isla de Puerto Rico, mi borinquen, mi hogar por siempre. To Dr. Ingram, thank you for your kind introduction and for all you do to advance knowledge, mentor our nation's future scientific researchers, and build a better world. I am privileged to be your colleague at Northern Arizona University. To the SACNAS board and staff, thank you for creating the conditions for the next generation of STEM professionals to affirm their identities, deepen connections, and prepare for careers of consequence and lives of purpose. To faculty and staff, thank you for your indefatigable service to your disciplines, your students, and the communities you represent. And to the students, the SACNistas here today, thank you for advancing your chosen STEM discipline. The work you do today and will continue to do well into the future will help ensure that the proverbial long arc of history does indeed bend toward justice. As I stand here today, there is much I could say about who I am, the role STEM education has played in my life, and the responsibility I feel day in and day out to pay it forward. But time is short, so I will color a little outside the lines by going straight to my advice to you, which I will offer as 2 points of insight gleaned from a lot of self-reflection. Point number 1, always be affirming your expressed identities and leveraging your lived experiences, which is just a fancy way to say, be proud of who you are and always remember where you came from. In the last few days, you have all come together to exchange ideas, broaden perspectives, and chart the path to a better future. In doing so, you have undoubtedly, if perhaps unconsciously, affirmed your expressed identities and leveraged your lived experiences. My advice, however, is for you to truly reflect on why it is critical that you do so in a conscious and assertive way, so you can be ready and willing to invest your time, talent, and energy in the worthy pursuits that will surely manifest themselves in your future. As you heard from Dr. Ingram, I am an engineer by training, born and mostly raised here in this beautiful island of enchantment, who has been afforded myriad opportunities to contribute outside the research lab I thought would forever be my home. And I attribute my willingness to seize these opportunities to one of the earliest of my lived experiences in which my budding identity was key to how events unfolded. You see, my journey to this stage has been a most improbable one which could have very well been derailed in the earliest years of my childhood and many times since. including one event that occurred somewhere in the central Florida of the 1970s. It was just a couple of weeks into the fall semester, and I was on my way to elementary school. But I was beginning to suspect that my cover had been blown, that my attempts to cloak myself in the invisibility of stillness and quietness had failed, and that the kids and the adults in the school surely knew, they had to know, that I did not speak or understand a word of English. I was halfway to school when suspicion turned into panic. I turned my bike around, returned home, and told my mother in no uncertain terms that I would never, never, ever, nunca, nunca, nunca go to school again. My tearful arguments got me nowhere. My mother, whose most frequent advice to me was to remember that education is the one thing no one can ever take away from you, was adamant that I had to return to school immediately. But I'll be late, I countered. Pues nada, mijo. Le dices a la maestra que estabas sick in the morning. It's okay, just go back and tell your teacher I was sick in the morning, my mom said. I repeated my mother's words in my head as I pedaled back to school. I was sick in the morning, I was sick in the morning, I was sick in the morning, I was sick in the morning. I got to school, parked my bike, filled myself with courage, and walked into the classroom. And as I entered the room, I blurted out what I later learned sounded more like I was a chicken in the morning. The room erupted into laughter, just as it did now, and the courage drained from my body. And just as I was beginning to hate myself for taking my mother's advice, my teacher walked over to me, hugged me tight, and said, "Yo ayudo tú. I'll help you." With her beautiful, broken Spanish, in an instant, she quieted the laughter that fueled my self-doubt and steeled my resolve to live life with the same quiet confidence she modeled to me that day. Rarely a year goes by without my mother and I sharing a good laugh over that day when I was a chicken in the morning. In fact, she and I talked this morning about it. It's become one of those family stories that is embellished every time it is retold, but has a core so powerful, it remains worth retelling. To this day, I am of the mind that my teacher's intentionality in her work, her unspoken commitment to connecting lives to opportunity, helped shape the trajectory of my life. A life that has benefited from and been dedicated to the ideal promulgated by Horace Mann that education, beyond all other devices, of human origin, is the great equalizer of the conditions of men, the balance wheel of the social machinery. A life that is long enough in years to suggest to me that all of you here today, by consciously and assertively affirming your expressed identities and leveraging your lived experience, will undoubtedly secure careers of consequence and advance lives of purpose. Which brings me to my second point. Always be broadening perspectives and deepening connections, which is another fancy way of saying be an engaged, lifelong learner. As you seek to secure careers of consequence and advance lives of purpose, please consider that to truly elevate excellence, you must work hard to broaden perspectives, yours and that of others, and deepen connections between you and the rest. Because if we don't do this, we will continue to limit the knowledge and understanding needed to transform diverse lived experiences into common solutions to the challenges together we face. Fortunately, we are all universitarios in this room. We are all of the university, a place of which it has been said that it is where the soul of a people mirrors itself. And so you are in the perfect place at the perfect time to do your part in broadening perspectives and deepening connections. Because when individuals from all walks of life come together and put their biographies in the context of the larger narratives of history, society, and culture, something powerful, even magical happens. As individual perspectives are broadened, collective connections deepened, and commonalities celebrated. Nobel Prize-winning Mexican poet and diplomat Octavio Paz would say that this magical something would manifest itself as the strengthening of a democracy, a strengthening that is predicated on the ability of a country to educate its people, a strengthening that Uruguayan journalist and literary legend Eduardo Galeano would probably add is predicated on the ability of a country to learn from its people. As you advance your life trajectory, consider treasuring and cultivating the opportunity to engage in spirited conversations about the most crucial issues of our day, contribute to advancing knowledge and understanding, and power the future health of our communities, our economy, and our society. As someone who throughout his life has more often than not been the other in the room, the outsider looking in, the strange one hoping to become familiar, to become conversant, I cannot overstate the importance of this work. Learning to listen, observe, and understand what people think, why they believe, and how their perspectives influence their actions are skills that have served me well as I have sought to find my place in the world and define the space I occupy in relation to others. Because it is in championing our freedom to inquire and learn, working to expand the frontiers of knowledge, and engaging with our local communities that we can help build a more just society, a more perfect union, and a more sustainable future. I will close just as I started, by acknowledging that this is your time. And I couldn't be happier to acknowledge that you have arrived, because we need you. We need your knowledge and passion to act on behalf of a more sustainable world. We need your talent and energy to propel our communities to a higher level of communion. We need your idealism and humanity to drive the actions that will lead us to a more inclusive and just society. And the good news is that we know you are ready for this, your time, because our experience tells us that the minute you step out of this venue, the lessons learned and experiences lived will empower you to help eradicate health disparities, eliminate educational inequities, secure environmental justice, promote civic engagement, and bring the joy of art into the world. And in so doing, we will build a better future for us all. I, for one, standing here, can say that I am in awe of who you are, what you've done, where you're headed, and what you will accomplish. As you move forward and work to elevate excellence, I hope you will remember my 2 points of advice for you. One, always be affirming your expressed identities and leveraging your lived experiences, which is to be proud of who you are and where you came from. And two, always be broadening perspectives and deepening connections, which is to ensure that you embrace being an engaged lifelong learner. Now, there's just one thing left to say, and I want you all to join me in saying it. When I say go, I want you to say Sagnistas. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay, here we go. Go! 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 Gracias, adelante, and let's do our work ensuring that we advance a better, more prosperous future for all, those that look like us and those that do not. Thank you very much.